Once we did Clash of the Jedi, then I sort of realized that we had proof of concept going on. We could cut the camera angles right. We didn't just have to set the camera to record and watch some people playing. We could actually make a production in and of itself. And I suppose the next step was, what do we do with that concept? How do we expand that? Can we add a good story, some believable characters, and maybe even an entire world? And I decided I wanted it on a little bit of a larger scale from how it was last time. The first influence for the story of Abydos actually came from an earlier idea, Mirai, which was basically a time travel series, and later on it turned out that producing a work like that was way harder than I originally thought. I'd been reading up on urban legends and independently thought up an idea of the lights, influenced by the general unusual horror aspects from urban legends.
I like to think that it's sort of like the Force. There are those who see them, and those who don't, or those who choose to ignore it. But it's still in their lives, whether they like it or not.
The thing about the lights is, they aren't just a threat. They're more than that. They're a virus. And as more will be revealed in the sequel, they can adapt pretty well to threats of them.
The lights themselves are a complicated concept because there's something out, I don't want to say out of this world because it's so stereotypical, but they really are, and there's something that no one really fully understands, which is something that's played a lot, but I think that this is a different sort of different.
Nephthys is a very interesting character because she's adventurous, but she likes staying out in shady places, which most daring people don't go to unless they're suicidal.
I just decided to take a whole bunch of aspects from Mirai and incorporate it into Abydos. So I had one character who's sort of a detective kind of person, but really too inquisitive for her own good, and I've taken some of that and put it into Chloe, and ever since Lena actually got into that role, she added her own elements and ended up making it her own character.
I would say acting as Ma'at was something of a challenge because as much as I would like to be like Ma'at, I'm not. But a lot of people see me as something like Ma'at, so it's sort of adapting that image to better fit Ma'at, if that makes sense. I think that every girl wants to play someone who they can envision beating up anyone that they want. I think, and not even just girls, I think everyone wants to play someone like that. So it's just a real privilege to be able to play someone like that and still have some sort of sense of humor.
Encore is the kind of guy who wants to be the action hero, but he isn't quite. He's a little bit too emotional. He's also the primary driver of the jumping car, and he also works on engineering the jumping car. So he's basically an action hero stuck in the position of being an engineer. Or at least he thinks of himself that way.
I've never played a character like him before. Usually I play some campy character, ridiculous man with a purple hat or something like that. But here, I have to play a character who is serious but calm. Not exactly my piece of cake. It challenged me.
One time that we were filming and, well, Mixel was doing the knife power-up. He actually cut his hand on the knife, and he didn't tell anyone until we were in the car. And he said, there might be a dangerously terrifying. Perfect.
We went back for the entire car ride screaming, "Real blood!" And he bled for this project. And it probably shouldn't have been that funny, but it really was.
It wasn't that bad.
Blood! Real blood!
Thumbs up for practical blood.
Yeah, we're going practical, man. You know, this monster was CGI and all, but we decided to have a little bit of practical effects in there. It was a matter of circumstance, really, that made us choose, but hey, we still got it practical.
There's actually a funny scene that was cut from the original Abydos, but as Nephthys crashed into the window, then I decided to improv a little and say, how did I survive that? This isn't a superhero movie!
Oh, I survived it. This is a superhero movie.
There's the nefarious dance sequence. I'm sure he's edited that in somewhere.
We did that basically all the time. I mean, whenever we weren't filming, we were either goofing off or dancing. Mostly dancing. A lot. During filming, I wasn't very faithful to wardrobe because in almost every other shot in the first scene, in one shot my jacket's zipped up, in another scene it's unzipped. I mean, in one shot then my hair is down, and in another one I'm wearing a ponytail. It's sad, really.
There are quite a few things that if you look for them, then they don't make much sense. For example, something that's rarely spoken of, Djibouti, when he does his brain scan for the lights, he takes off his shoes for it. So when he ran down the stairs, he was not wearing any footwear, because not wearing shoes helps him concentrate. You see, this is actually very scientific. He needs his feet grounded on something to sense through the earth and through the flow of the thing to see where they are.
Filming overall took a lot longer than I'd been expecting. We'd ended up completing the film in around 14 days worth of filming, maybe 15. Although technically we started almost a year earlier on the dot from when we finished filming. Liam was about to get a haircut, so we really had to just wrap things up really quickly. We also only had one camera, so we were just doing it almost one line per shot in some situations. It's definitely something I would change for next time. Set more cameras to get longer conversations going.
Honestly, another great part was us going out for Slurpees afterward and us talking about how we just got paid in Slurpees. And our entire budget on that film was Slurpees and batteries.
I wasn't really paying any of my siblings anything, so what I ended up doing was taking them out to 7-Eleven several times after filming a chunk of it, and so almost our entire budget was spent on that.
That sequence, where she's officially made member, the thing is, it's not an army procedure. They are not exactly a group of friends, but they are relatively untrained. They're trained in fighting, yeah, and they're trained in using the ebb and flow of the universe, but they are not formally trained, so they're not perfectly formal at everything.
There were several points at which things I'd never scripted or thought of that the actors did themselves that I ended up thinking was a great idea. In particular, making things a lot less formal and even changing the script at one point to make it a lot more casual conversation. I think that really added to the scene.
Ma'at and Djibouti originally were going to get much smaller roles. I was one of the people who did not appreciate that.
For the sequel, I definitely want a lot more humor, and the shots in the original Abydos were kind of static, with everyone moving and the camera not. So I'd like some more camera movement, and also the voices should be heard over the music. Because in the first scene, in that one first scene, it was blaring out and with a tiny hint of, "My name is Chloe Hunter, and I have a problem." What?
first movie, Anhur and Nephthys got to use their powers, and that was cool. But what'll be interesting is to see all the others use them as well. You see, they all have slightly different fighting styles if you look. For example, Anhur uses a large dramatic swing every time he does things. And with Nephthys, if you look, most of her blows are very short and not going very far from her body. So, it's very interesting to look through those and see what will the other people's powers be like.
So the biggest trap that a lot of sequels fall into is making things bigger and upping the budget, having more effects and whatnot. And to a degree, I think the sequel is going to be a bit flashier, but that's not what I'm going to do. Well, that's not what I'm going to want with the goal. I'm wanting to incorporate a lot more of a human element. I'm going to want to explain all the questions I raise, but I'm also going to want to drive the story and define the characters a little bit more and redefine the world a little bit.
I'd like to see more of Ma'at's sense of humor because we didn't really see very much of it in the original. And other than the fact that she's essentially ninja stereotype of awesome, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not a very rounded character. And also just delving more into who the individual characters are as people. So seeing if they have some sort of history or what's happening with these two characters interacting with one another.